Welcome back. Now, the organization Undoing Tax Abuse wants action to be taken against those who enabled state capture. Last week, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo handed over the final state capture report to President Cyril Ramaphosa. He's recommended that a number of top PRASA officials and former board members be investigated, including former CEO Lucky Montana. For more on this, we're joined by organization Undoing Tax Abuse's Wayne Duvenage to just give us more reaction to his thoughts. Mr. Duvenage, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. I mean, more than half that fifth volume was dedicated to PRASA alone, and still the Chief Justice thinks that or recommends that there should be another inquiry established into PRASA alone. So more money that we must spend to find money that was squandered.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, it's just so sad that we are in this position and situation, and it's important that we look at the recommendations that come out of the Zondo report. A lot of work has gone into it, a lot of evidence has been gathered, and those recommendations now need to be fleshed out. And if it does mean a separate investigation into exactly what's happened, because PRASA is critical when it comes to commuting, getting people to and from work and home, especially the workers and the poorest of the poor who use this transport. It is so sad to see PRASA in the state that it's in right now. And to this day, there continues to be irregularities. There continues to be a lack of oversight into what exactly is happening at PRASA. We know that people are being suspended, which shouldn't be suspended. They're asking the tough questions. We have leadership that is coming and going, and there's just no direction. And if you go and look at the train stations that PRASA makes use of, and the facilities and the structure, it's diabolical.
Talking about, the trains themselves, remember Sifambu, those trains that were actually too large and were just built in the incorrect way, the most incorrect way for our rail, and that company being mentioned in the state capture report. Of course, we know that Sifambu was later liquidated, etc. But is that enough? Because when you look at it, yes, we know the obvious names in government that should be, taken to task. But of course, there's also the private sector, like this company, that enables this to happen.
Absolutely. The private sector is the other side of the corruption coin. So while we tend to focus on the people who pay, who hold the checkbook and make the payments, that is the state itself and the public sector, it is the companies that are participating, and many of them, not only at PRASA, at Eskom and others, SAA and so forth. So we need to ensure that the directors of the new boards that are in place now do their work and go after the companies and the future, or also the previous directors, non-executive directors and executives that were in control at the time. They have now access to all the agreements. They've got access to the minutes of meetings and the board meetings and so forth. So we're asking people in authority now, people in positions of power within these SOEs, go after the people who perpetrated the crimes, give the information and lay the charges, by the way, formulate the complaints, lay them with the NPA, with the Hawks, with the ID and SIU, make sure that the criminal justice system takes its course, but against both public and the individuals concerned.
And Mr. Duvenage, the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shamila Batoy, has a huge task on her hands now. One of the recommendations, of course, is that she established this task team that would investigate things further. But of course, there's been some people who say that they feel that the judiciary wasn't, investigated enough or investigated at all in the state capture report. And those were also enablers because information was brought to law enforcement and nothing was done. So what kind of pressure will you be applying, for instance, as civil society, to make sure that a person like the NDPP and the presidency actually go ahead with the recommendations by Zondo?
Well, we will be continuously putting them under pressure. We do meet with them from time to time. And it's critical that something changes and drastically, because we've got all this valuable information and it cannot be allowed to gather dust. What we need to see is action now, accountability. And we know that the NPA is under a lot of pressure. They have been hollowed out in the past. I know it's taken 3 years to where we are now, even more, and they should be a lot further down the line. But you must remember, every single day, the NPA is dealing with corruption, with rape, with murder, with fraud, and general crime. So this is about capacitating them to enable to deal with this backlog. There's a big backlog here. 10 years of backlog is not going to go away overnight. But the Zondo report has done a lot of that legwork now. A lot of this evidence is there, and it is about getting a special team together to now fast track some of these cases, which are low-hanging fruit. Too many people are walking the streets with the proceeds of crime, and they're still not being held accountable, and they should have been by now.
And the Hawks has also been investigating, but that too, I guess as South Africans, because of how much this has, has affected us, we just want to see results tomorrow,
Yeah, we're very impatient, and I guess we have a right to be, because as society, we've seen this. We've seen the headlines of state capture for a long time now, since the World Cup soccer days 2010, with the old construction collusion that was happening. So it's been a long time in the making. We now need to see tangible and real accountability, not only the big fish, and let's face it, there have been a number of arrests. The Transnet crew that was rounded up recently will be in court next month. This is good news, and others will be added to it. But there's so much more that we need to see accountability for. So we are impatient, but I guess, what's another few months, maybe a year, but we need to see people rounded up. We certainly need the kingpins of state capture and Guptas to be extradited, brought back to South Africa to face the music and answer the questions that we all have for them.